So today's session is one in a continuing series of technical training webinars that we put on to support our partners in designing and building zero energy ready homes. My name is Lindsay Parker. I'm a coordinating support for the program, and I'll be covering some general notes on webinar housekeeping. All attendees will be in listen-only mode throughout the webinar, and we invite you to ask questions throughout the session in the questions application of GoToWebinar. Throughout the webinar, we will be monitoring these questions, and at the end of each section, there are about 5 of them, we'll take a pause and look at some repeated questions that can be looked at immediately. And at the end of the presentation, we will have time to go in more depth into questions. This session is being recorded, and the recording will be placed on the resources page of the Zero Energy Ready Home website. Please allow some time for this, as it does have to go through a transcription process and captioning. And so that might take around 2 weeks to be added online. However, after the presentation, we will be sending out a PDF of the presentation as well as some information on upcoming webinars that we're hosting. So now I'd like to hand it over to Sam Rashkin, the Chief Architect at DOE.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Welcome, everyone. This is going to be a second webinar on the Building America Solution Center that we often dub as your new best friend if you have anything to do with high-performance homes. In the first webinar, we went through detailed explanation of the tool and how it works and all of its faceted ways it can be used in many different applications. But we didn't go into detail really in how to use it for specific job needs you have in the housing industry. So that's where this webinar is stepping up to be the next new way to look at the Solution Center as a tool to use in your business. Now, before we do look at the specific applications, business applications for using the Solution Center, I'd like to just give you a brief background one more time quickly about the Solution Center and how it's set up. So first and foremost, what we need to know is that the Solution Center is, moving to the next slide. See if our slides are working here. Hey, Chrissy, are we working with the slides there? Great. So first and foremost, the Solution Center, if you want to understand it most simply, it's world-class expert guidance for high-performance homes at your fingertips, and a very effective, simple tool you can get to the best experts' knowledge we have on applying best practices and advanced technologies. So let's quickly go into one more time what it is and what it's not. The Solution Center is, therefore, really, really helpful guidance. Now, what we also want to make sure people don't do is confuse it with being a design tool. It's not a tool you use to create optimized packages or ways to meet thresholds of performance. It's not a design tool. It's a way to get information about the measures and practices you want to use in a high-performance building. Now, in terms of a construct of how this works, Building America generates an amazing amount of content, and it's an impressive array of experts, both from contract teams and the national laboratories, who contribute to a wealth of information that we have in high-performance buildings, both new and existing. So there's this content, and the purpose of the Solution Center is to make it more accessible. So we developed from that full array of content, the content that would help you specify advanced best practices or apply them or educate to them or get them approved more easily by decision makers or code officials, or to more effectively sell them. And so we pull out the information from all that vast content in the Solution Center that you would need most readily to apply proven innovations. And then we attach this simple interface so you can pull it out very quickly and much more easily than in the old past system. And as Building America continues to generate more and more content, what will happen is you'll have more and more resources available to you. And the most important thing is, as we generate new content, The taxonomy of the engine behind the Solution Center allows us, when we introduce new content, to pull out old, out-of-date content, and to, in addition, complement what we have that's there already that's still relevant. So the key here is that when you use the information in the Solution Center, you know you're getting the most up-to-date content, and it's not content you have to think, is it no longer valid or not. So moving on, let's talk about this simple interface. And this is a new interface we've just introduced recently. There are 6 key options for you when you go to the Solution Center, and let's work through these one at a time. In terms of the program checklist, what you'll find is, if we go to the next slide, that you have now, through the Solution Center, the ability to pull up a number of programs, and by targeting the checklists that are used for those programs or specifications, you can pull up the content relevant to them right away. So it makes it very easy to find very precise information you're looking for relative to these programs. Zero Energy Ready Home, our DOE Building America Cornerstone program, the Energy Star Certified Homes program, the EPA Indoor Air Plus label program, and EPA Water Sense program. In addition, we're just introducing content for existing homes, and there'll be an interface for that, very much like a checklist, to extract information from the Solution Center about existing homes, and often information about the for the programs you mentioned above. That will be relevant often for existing homes, and where it is, it will come up when you seek it out. Now, in addition to the program checklist, we also have information by building components. And the building components, very simply, you pick the part of the building you're interested in, and that will give you the information you're looking for. And both the checklist and the building components are giving you information in the form of a guide, a 9-tab guide that provides a wide array of information you need about best practices. And the first of the 9 tabs will provide a scope of work that lets you specify a product and or use it in contract language to help ensure you get exactly what you want for a proven innovation that will work as intended. The next tab is the description tab, and this tab will have a lot of information that explains the measure and how it works. This is really helpful for educating industry and non-industry people about this innovation. So as you can see in this case, there's a lot of information about double stud wall framing and how it's applied and all the different types of insulation options available and what would happen with those different options. So a lot of good content in the description. The next tab is the Ensuring Success tab that we call Success. And this tab has the information you need to integrate this measure with other building science and related issues for constructing homes. So if there's some special needs when you use that measure to make sure it works properly, we'll pull these out and cite those under this tab. Under climate, we will pull out any specific climate conditions that need to be addressed to make sure that those are understood before applying the measure. Under the training tab, we provide actual images of right and wrong or sequence images for applying the measure. And where presentations and videos are available, those are entered as well and can be easily accessed. Under CAD, that's providing, you'll see images where they're available for inserting into construction documents. These are in both DWG and PDF files, so they can be used readily, but very effectively. You can now have some default details to put in your architectural drawings. Under compliance, we provide a complete array of code and program specifications that relate to this measure that can be easily accessed by the by clicking on them. Where there's some proprietary information that has to be purchased, it takes you to the page where you would have to purchase the information. Under More, this is your link to precedence content where we show that it is a proven innovation, and that could be either in the form of case studies or detailed references and materials that were developed through Building America or other sources that feature that measure. And lastly, the last new tab that we introduced is Sales, and this is a tab that provides a translation of this technical term that we often use for measure into a much more consumer-friendly language term, a language of value we call it. And so each measure will basically have An alternate term that can be used that's more effective in trying to transact the value of the measure to consumers and the public at large. This will have, again, simplified content describing the measure for sales professionals, and then language at the very bottom explains how it might be used in engaging a particular customer about the measure. So this is the array of content that's under program checklists and building components. The next new option we have in the interface is a sales tool. And the sales tool will be a way for you to create point-of-sale material that features all the proven innovations that you've applied or used in your home, and using this new language of value that we just referenced. So it's a very elegant way to package lots of helpful content, and it does it according to 6 value propositions. In this case, you see healthful environment. It also addresses efficient construction. It addresses additional comfort, durability, quality. So all these things are available. You can bundle your innovations by attributes you'd want to feature to particular customers during a sales process where you find out their needs. So the sales tool is very helpful. And then the next one item we have is for climate packages. Here, what we've done through Building America program is taken the results of years of research and analysis, and we've put together packages that basically achieve zero energy ready home performance, or about 30% above code, and provide lots of details about how they work, and along with specifications for what would go into those homes to achieve that level of performance. So by climate region, you can pull up excellent content for understanding how to achieve zero energy ready performance. The next tab we have is for creating or for accessing the building science reference material that's behind a lot of the content in the Solution Center. So often the unabridged guides and reference materials and research studies can be accessed by going to this tab or this part of the interface, and then through very elegant ways of filtering and getting to precisely what you need, pulling up really, really good content for your point of interest. And lastly, we have the tab about the mobile applications. This is about how to be able to use Solution Center to create customized bundles of information that we call My Field Kits that let you package information you need for very specific applications. So there's a lot going on in the Solution Center, and going on to the next slide. And here's a kind of a snapshot of the content that we have in terms of what's there so far. There are about 175 plus full guides already on the Solution Center, over 1,300 images, over 115 CAD drawings, and 175 proven case studies demonstrating the innovations actually in empirical situations. And lastly, there are over 375 peer-reviewed references that have been entered, and all this content is growing continually based on submissions from the Building America teams and labs, and even from outside the organization. More about that in a second. So comparing the Building America Solution Center versus the old content, there's an amazing amount of innovation in how we're getting content to our stakeholders. First, instead of fixed content, we have continuously improved content that is always striving to be fully up to date and state-of-the-art content. So you don't have to any longer figure out if the information is the latest that we have. Every time you go to the Solution Center, by design, you're pulling up our best and latest content for helping you use proven innovations. And it's no longer you just have the ability just to read and that's it. Now the content has a user feedback capability where you can let us know if you feel that you've identified a deletion, an error, something where there's a gap in the information, a situation where you have better information or information that will complement what we have. Whatever feedback you might have about the content you read, you're able to provide input to us to help make this better, not only from our resources internally, but from the user's ability to help make it a better product. And instead of having to use as is, and here's the content, you can now take this content and absolutely package and create bundles of customized information that you need for very specific uses. So it's not a fixed tool that way that you have to just take as it is, and can be very much filtered for your specific needs. And it was very, very difficult in the past to find information you needed. Now, because of these simple interfaces, you get it much, much more quickly and easily than you did in the past. And instead of just being able to get it when you're able to get to our website on a more full computer situation, now any mobile application tool will let you get access to our information that you customize and put into your field kit. So wherever you are, you can get your customized information. So that's the background about what we've been doing, and the outcome is I think that we're creating a community of users with the Building America Solution Center. And all of us are going to be part of this process of continuously improving the platform we have for applying best practices for high-performance buildings. And so it's architects, engineers, sales professionals, verifiers like HERS, raters, code officials, educators, builders and remodelers, all of us working out of this repository for world-class content will be making it better, and in the process be disseminating best practices throughout the housing industry. So this is a tremendous thing that we think can happen with being better at how we get content to you. Now I'm going to hand off to Chrissi to explain very specific business applications that can help you get the best use out of the Solution Center.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I think at this point we would like to ask our first poll, which is related specifically to users of the Solution Center. Lindsay, do you have that ready to go?
I am. Let's see. I'm launching the poll right now. Everyone should be able to see it. The question is, are you already a registered user of the Building America Solution Center? Please select one. Right now it's about 50-50. Polling is in progress. And great, thank you for everyone who voted. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. We have about 80% who responded. So the response was 60% said no, they are not a user already of the Solution Center, and 35% said yes.
Great. Well, for those of you who are users, you can log into your account and follow along during this demonstration and kind of replicate the steps that I'll be going through to show you how to create sales tools and field kits. For those of you who are not registered, you can do so right now at basc.energy.gov. Become a new user. It takes just a moment. We will walk through that process, and you can also walk through some of the actual business applications that I'll be going through. So I will be going through 5 different customized applications for the Solution Center. We have a new tool called the Sales Tool, and I'm going to show you how to create your own custom sales agent reference guides. I'll be showing you how to create field kits and save all of your content to specific folders. I'll be going through how to create these point-of-sale innovation fact sheets that kind of go back to the sales side of the tool. It talks specifically about the value propositions that Sam brought up earlier. I'll be going through how to download content for presentations and how to find case studies that can be used to show proven practices. So let's start with the home page. Again, the URL is basc.energy.gov. The home page has changed. We now have this simplified interface that allows you to get directly to our content tools faster than before. You'll see on the upper right-hand screen a register and log in button. In order to interact with the customization tools on BASC, you do need to be a registered user, and that's so you can create your custom folders to save your content. So for those of you who are already registered, feel free to log in. For those of you who are not, go ahead and register. Creating a new user account looks somewhat like this screen here. You have a username, which can also be your email address. We ask for your profession just so we can kind of keep track of our user community, the construction type that you're interested, where you're located. Registering allows you to create field kits, create point-of-sale fact sheets, and also interact with the content by providing feedback and submitting content yourself. Once you're registered, you will see a few differences throughout the Solution Center. So in the red block on the upper right-hand side of the screen, you now see a block called My Field Kits. You'll also see a block called My Sales Tools, which is brand new as of yesterday, as a matter of fact. These are your customizable content folders in the BASC, and they allow you to monitor the content that you're interested in, save the content that you're interested in, and create folders for specific content that relates to your own applications. You can create as many of these as you want, or as few of them as you want. You can share them. You can create them for a company or a business and monitor them that way. So first we're going to go through the sales tool. The sales tool is now available on the home page. It's also available on the left-hand navigation. Here is the interface for the sales tool. We have 10 different building topics that all of the sales information is divided into. It's designed to provide a glossary of sales themes and value propositions that can be used across the industry to reinforce the value of high-performance homes. You can access all of the sales content directly through the tool itself. In this case, we're looking at HVAC ducts and conditioned space. The technical term will be translated into a more of a value term, a sales term, and you will get alternate terms for that particular measure based on the value proposition associated with it. You'll get a technical description of the term, you'll get an image, and then you'll get a sales message, which allows you to convey the importance of this particular measure to your consumer. You can also access the sales message from any of our guides throughout the Solution Center. Sam went through the guide tabs a little bit earlier. So if you don't want to use the tool applications specifically, you can still access this information anywhere throughout the Solution Center. So let's go back to the Sales Tool homepage. Now, when you're logged in, under your Field Kit block, you will see something called My Sales Tools. This is the customization tool that allows you to create new sales tools. It mirrors My Field Kits, and this is really pertinent to my application. You can always create a new sales tool or create a new field kit to save that content to. You can also save the content to existing field kits and existing sales tools, and I will go through that application in just a little bit. So in this instance, we are going to create a new sales tool. And we're going to create a sales tool that is designed to be a sales agent reference guide. So on this particular form, I want to list all of the innovations that I as a builder use in my homes so my sales team can go out and sell the value propositions associated with this. So when you click Create Sales Tool, you'll be taken to a form that you fill out. The form is very straightforward, looks like what you're seeing on the screen. We'll go through each term. This is a very new tool on the BASC. We just released it yesterday. We're really excited about it. We will be posting this webinar for how-to instructions, and we will also be adding a new page with instructions on how to fill this out. So if you don't remember, you can access this information later. But we're hoping that it's somewhat straightforward, and if you have any feedback for us, please let us know. So let's take a look at this form. Each sales tool contains the same general information. The first is the title. You do have to give your sales tool a title, which is what the little red star means. So in this case, I'm going to call it Sales Agent Reference Guide for Happy Valley Homes, my builder name. The sales tool version. Now we'll go through both versions, but a quick rundown. You have an option. You can either do a custom option that gets you content, any content that you want in the sales tool. I think there's over 100 different terms, 100 different innovations to pull in. Or you can pull a predetermined list based on one of the 6 value propositions associated with DOE's Zero Energy Ready Home program. We'll go through both. In this instance, I want to create a custom list because this is very specific to my building project. So I choose the custom option. The next thing you'll see is the body text. This is not a required field. This gives you the ability to add some text, whatever it is that you want. If you want it to be a message about your company, if you want it to be instructions for your sales team, anything you want to add, you can add in there. And then the next section is your company info. Again, you can or cannot fill in this depending on your needs. But your company name, your company logo, so you can actually upload a picture of your company's logo, and then your address, your phone number, your URL, and any other information you'd like your consumer to have. Okay, so once you enter that basic information, you have this related sales theme option. And this is the little tool that allows you to pull in any of the sales themes that we have. It's only one box, but I'm going through how to add it. So I'm going through the list and I'm picking and choosing the terms that I want to add. Hold Control to hit multiple terms on the list. So I go through, I pick my terms, and then I hit the plus button to move them over to my selected options. If I want to delete terms, I do the same thing in the inverse. I click something from my selected option, and then I hit the minus button, and that will take it out. When I've finished completing my list, I hit the Save button at the very bottom of the form, and the form will render into my sales agent reference form. You can see at the top, let's see, you can see right under my sales worksheets that the form, the title now appears. You see Sales Agent Reference Guide for Happy Valley Homes. So if I want to access it throughout the Solution Center, I can. You'll see a print and PDF version of this form at the top of the page. So if you want to print it or download a PDF version of it, you can do that. You can add it into one of your field kits. So if you want this form to accompany a saved list of images or guides or videos, you can do that as well. And then finally, you have the option to edit your form. You'll see a little tab at the top of the form that says Edit. So if you want to go through and change something about the sheet that you've just created, you can do that. So here is the print and PDF. The print is on the left-hand side of the screen. It just renders the form in a very nice format, allows you to print directly to your printer. The PDF is very similar, allows you to save it for later if you want to put it into a folder on your desktop. So that is the basics of the first customization of the sales tool. Now we're going to talk about customizing field kits. However, before we move on, I think we did want to pause just for a moment and see if there are any reoccurring questions to answer after this section.
So looking at the questions, I think the most common question was the difficulty with navigating beyond the sales tool or the sales tool not showing up. I think it was mostly technical problems with getting onto the website. With one participant, they said that the website had an error message that said this is a federal computer system and property of the government. So I sent around the link again. If anyone has any more issues with getting on, go ahead and send them to me, and I'll try and resend the link. basc.pnnl.gov. I think that was the main one. There was one question, otherwise it said, is there a way to quickly determine the most valuable or fastest return on investment specs or components for a given climate zone plus or as well as the building type, single family versus multifamily?
So right now, we do not tie the sales tool into kind of climate-specific information. However, we do have a climate packages tool that we will go through later that shows you how to achieve 30% more savings, energy savings, over the 2009 IECC. But there is not a dollar component associated with those savings numbers.
And I'd like to jump in just and reiterate that the Solution Center isn't a design tool that determines which measures to use and the relative cost-effective performance of different measures and which ones you should choose for a specific location. The idea of the Solution Center is to enable people to look at all the choices they have and to understand how to work and how to apply them, and know that there is hopefully behind using the Solution Center some analysis that was done first, let's say a HERS rating, a BOP software calculation, or Energy Plus analysis, but someone did some analysis, they've come up with these are recommendations for how to do a high-performance home, and now if you want the best guidance for how to apply them, teach to them, specify them, how to develop precedents for using them, you have that with the Solution Center. So this isn't your design tool or your cost analysis tool. This is your guidance for how to apply measures that might be recommended by analysis that's done on the front end by some other software. And also, I was going to add a question, Chrissy, just that might be come up is, can people only edit the text, or can they also insert different images from the ones that we use by default?
So you can insert a different image for your logo. It doesn't even have to be a logo. You can insert whatever image you want there. However, in the customized sales message, that will insert the default image that we have associated with that term. That one is not customizable at this point. Okay, so let's move on to field kits. Now you're seeing on your screen, I'm back to the home page, and I have circled the field kit option and the sales worksheet option. You now see that I have my sales agent reference guide for Happy Valley Homes following me around. I can create new sales worksheets, but let's focus on this little top block for a second, which is my field kits. And this is the way for me to create folders of all different types of content, not just sales content. So to create a new field kit, you hit the little addition button, and that will take you to a form that looks like this. It says add a new field kit, and you must give your field kit a title, which will then appear over here on the right. So in this case, I'm going to call this my Zero Energy Ready Home project number 5, and make sure to click Save. Once you click Save, as you're going around the Solution Center, you will see over here on my right, I now have my Zero Energy Ready Home project number 5 folder following me around. Now to add to this folder is very straightforward. You can add guides, which is the page I'm on now. You can add images, CAD files, videos, and sales themes to your guides. Not only can you add the individual sales themes, but you can add your sales tools as well to a field kit if you want them to be grouped with other content throughout the Solution Center. So wherever you are in the Solution Center, you will see this little orange briefcase, and it will say belongs to X field kits. When you hover over that, you'll get this little box that pops up, and it'll say add or remove this item from your field kits. And the plus will give you the option to add it to a field kit, and the minus will be an option to take it out of a field kit that you have already added it to.
Hey, Chrissy, can you just add a individual tab, or do you have to add the complete guide?
You have to add the complete guide. So this is my field kit that I have created, and this is all my content that I have associated with it. At the very top, you'll see the images and CAD files that I have saved. Underneath that, you'll see the list of guides that I have saved. After that, you'll see videos, and then my sales messages that I have saved into my guides, or into my field kit, sorry. And again, this is just a way to bookmark for easy access all of your specific content. The little minus signs allow you to take out the content from your field kits, and again, these follow you anywhere that you are in the Solution Center, so it's easy to add content to your field kits. So moving back to the sales tool a little bit, we're going to talk about these point of sale innovation fact sheets. The Zero Energy Ready Home program has 6 primary value propositions used to sell high efficient homes, and the sales tool will automatically create lists of these innovations for you based on any of these value propositions. These lists are bulleted lists. They're more concise than the custom lists. And the 6 value propositions are advanced technology, engineered comfort, enhanced durability, healthful environment, quality built, and ultra efficient. So again, I'm on my sales tool page, but I can be anywhere throughout the Solution Center. I use the same tool to create custom lists or to create my value proposition kind of predetermined lists, as we call them in the tool. So again, I'm going to click on Create Sales Worksheet. And here, I'm going to, I still have all of my same information, but the only thing that's going to change is the version that I pick. Instead of picking the custom list, I'm going to pick the predetermined version. And then that will make a new group pop up at the bottom of the form that says Sales Theme Groups. And when I look in this little box, I see all of my 6 value propositions. So I select the one that I'm interested in, and then I click Save at the bottom of the form. And once I click Save, I will then have these concise lists of innovations associated with each of these measures. So my Happy Valley Homes name and logo and description still pop up, but instead I'm going to get the value proposition title in the little green bar, and I named this list Ultra Efficient List, which was kind of a silly title, so sorry, it seems repetitive there, but it will be the name that you call your sales sheet, and then it'll list the value proposition that you picked. And that way you can show your consumer that each of the innovations that you use in your homes are ultra efficient in this way, or they speak to a healthful environment in this way, and you can go down your list of innovations. Again, you can save as many of these as you want. They'll pop up online. You can send them to your printer. You can download them as a PDF file, and they will follow you around. Questions on the predetermined list? If there are any that have popped up, Lindsay.
No.
Okay, great.
People are getting it.
I hope so. All right, so the next business application we wanted to walk you through is how to download content directly for the Solution Center for something like a presentation or classroom materials or some sort of educational materials. You can take content directly from the Solution Center and put them into your own format. We have a print and download option available for handbooks, images, case studies, CAD files, and sales messages. So you don't have to be a logged in user to utilize any of these. You can just go to the Solution Center, grab the content that you need, put it in InDesign or PowerPoint or whatever it is that you use, and move on. So here is a guide. On the left-hand side, you see the guide in the Solution Center itself. On the right-hand side, you see the print version of the guide. So if you want to download the PDF or print the page, we can render the content for you in an easily accessible way. You can also pull content directly out of the guide itself. If you want a specific paragraph, we don't inhibit you from doing that. If you want to download the pictures directly from the guide, we don't inhibit you from doing that as well. Let's say you want some images for a presentation that you're going to give. Here I'm browsing through our image gallery. You can filter the images by keywords to help you narrow down some of the almost 1,400 images we have to something a little bit more digestible for your purposes. Clicking on any image will give you the little save icon over there on the far left where you can download it directly to your computer. You will have a little information icon so you can see the publication or source of the image itself. And then of course over on the right you'll see the little field kit icon. So if this image is something interesting to you, you can add it to one of your field kits. Same thing is true with our CAD file gallery. We have about 120 CAD files currently in BASC. You can find them directly through the guides, through the guide tab. We do have a CAD tab. But if you really are only interested in CAD files, you can go directly to our CAD gallery, filter by keywords, and find the CAD files that you need. They work very similar to images. In this case, however, you can either download the original AutoCAD file to insert directly into software, or you can download a PDF if you don't want to put it in the software for any reason. Again, you can also add it directly to any of your field kits as well to easily bookmark the item for later. To download any of the content, you don't need to be signed in. However, you won't have the option to save it to a field kit unless you are a registered user and signed in. So that is presentations, how to download content specifically for presentations. The next thing that we'd like to walk through are how to create customized lists of case studies. We have a somewhat new tool called the Optimized Climate Solutions tool that gives you access to building packages for climate-specific construction projects. It is an interactive tool, so if you go to the homepage, you can click on any one of the Building America climate zones to find the specific information for each climate zone. You'll find energy savings data. You'll find specific guidance that takes you back to BASC guides for thermal enclosure, HVAC, and specific components. And you'll also find a list of case studies that are specific to the climate zone that you chose. So this is one way to access our case studies in the Solution Center. You can use the case studies to show precedents for targeted building science measures that might be used to get approval by a code official or some sort of building executive. The PDFs, or the case studies, are all available in PDF, so you can download them and save them. We are going to enhance our field kits to allow you to add the PDFs directly to your field kits as well. That is coming soon, but not currently available on the site. We also have a case study browser. On the left-hand navigation throughout the Solution Center, under Find Resources, you will see a direct link to case studies. And this gives you all of the case studies throughout the Solution Center. There are also filters on your case studies, so you can filter by climate zone, you can filter by author, you can filter by keyword, you can filter by construction type as well to find the specific case studies that you are interested in. And again, they are all available in a PDF, so you can download the PDF directly to your computer and save it for later. So one of the great applications of BASC is the ability to take all of this information, all of your saved information, out into the field with you. Sam noted in the new simplified homepage interface, we have a link directly to the Solutions app. This is the application available for both Android and iOS or Apple devices. You can access the Apple app through the Apple Store, but you cannot access the Android app through the Google Store. You have to just get it directly from our site. So again, it's available directly from the homepage, or the URL is written in blue there. It's basc.energy.gov/solutions. You can access all of your media, you can access guides, and you can access all of your saved data for your specific construction projects. The app will sync automatically with your account, so you can take this out into the field regardless of a internet connection. You just have to make sure to sync your accounts just like your other apps, your other news apps and whatnot. And you can take this out with you, share it with your crews, share it with your sales teams, or whoever needs to access the data out in the field. And that was our presentation today. Those are our 5 use cases that we wanted to walk you through. Again, the Solution Center URL is basc.energy.gov. You can also access the Solution Center through Building America at buildingamerica.gov. We are happy to take any questions or comments that you have. I can put my email, I'll give my email to Lindsay, so if you have any questions about signing in, creating an account, or using any of these tools, please feel free to contact me or contact the BASC team through the Contact Us link at basc.energy.gov.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Chrissy, for the great presentation and all the helpful information on the BASC. We did have a couple of questions come in towards the end. So one participant is asking for clarification on whether it's okay to include figures or drawings in training presentations.
Yes, we encourage you to take our figures and our drawings and put them into your presentations. They are all open source, free, accessible to the public.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you. Another question is, how would you suggest going from the Building America Solution Center to design software?
Well, the only type of design software that we can really interface with directly is a AutoCAD type software, where you can download our CAD files directly as a DWG file and insert it directly into your CAD software. But that is really the extent of interacting with designed software that we allow at this point.
Okay. Let's see. So another question is, what is the Building America Solution Center doing to influence building codes across the country to move towards zero energy ready home?
Sam, I'm going to let you take that one.
Well, the first thing I want to say on that question that's has been a big point of interest for us is, at least early when the Building America Solution Center was released, one of the largest user groups that we tracked for the Solution Center were code officials and related code stakeholders. So clearly the PNNL has done a good job reaching out to that community of users in the code arena to be aware of this information source. But the Solution Center itself is not a vehicle for influencing code. As it's something that we want to make sure that stakeholders know is available to them, because often what you have to do when engaging a code official is to document precedents or to show that there's a credible source for the practice or technology you're seeking to use that may be at question with a code official. So rather than just being, okay, here's my take on this, you're able to pull a DOE reference document and solution and bring that to the official. That said, what we do have at the Building America program is something called the Code and Standards Integration Initiative, which is CSI, oddly enough. And the purpose of that initiative is to identify areas where building science best practices might need additional integration support with code officials so they know how to address it, how to recognize it or approve it. And examples would be, for instance, what do you do with the marriage, joint, and multifamily housing where the air sealing best practice might be at conflict with some of the fire restrictions or fire code restrictions. And so working with that would be an issue. We're trying to work with code officials on accepting, let's say, plastic as ductwork in attics, and again address fire requirements in that situation. So there's a whole array of issues and expert meetings that have been held to identify opportunities to be more effective, and that's a separate initiative apart from the Building America Solutions Center.
And if you don't mind, Sam and Chrissy, this is Michael Beckler. I work with Chrissy at P&L. Just one other note, generally on codes, there is a content type within the Solutions Center called a Code Compliance Brief. And they address specific issues in language that ties very directly in minute detail to the codes. And you can find those on the left nav bar, and you'll also find those in the compliance tabs, but we don't have briefs for every single measure in the Solutions Center. We're prioritizing the briefs to sort of the most critical measures that tend to get bogged down in codes issues. So the briefs are intended to be in language that code officials understand, and they provide information that helps the code official both in terms of plan review and later field inspection to be sure they're comfortable and understand how that particular measure works.
So that was a great question.
All right. We actually do have another one that came up in relation to that. If successful, could the Building America Solutions Center guidelines and case studies supersede local building codes?
No, codes always take precedence.
Okay, there we go.
But hopefully it can help inform the process.
Okay. And we also got to thank you for the detailed responses. Another question came in. Can you explore the worth of integration with mainstream HVAC design software like RightSoft and Elite and rating software like RemRate?
Well, they're separate software packages, and hopefully more and more as we get to BIM, Building Integrated Modeling systems, we start seeing those separate systems merging, but essentially RightSoft's designed to size equipment and ducts in HVAC systems, and it is separate from the RemRate or other HERS rating software, which is designed to calculate a HERS score. Now, since so many of the inputs are so similar that you would need to, in both separate software packages, there are many, many integration opportunities to combine those. But right now, they're separate function software designed to do different things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the response, Sam. Another question is, can we request topic-specific images to be added to the photo library?
Yes, absolutely. And we encourage your interaction and feedback with BASC. There's two ways to do that. You can either contact us directly right on the home page. There is a Contact Us button, which will give you access to our internal email. You can also submit content. If there's a Submit Content link on the home page as well, that will take you to a form and a process to submit your own content if you have additions that you would like us to consider. And actually there is a third way, which is if you are logged in as a user, you can provide direct feedback on our guides. So if you are on a specific guide and you have some feedback to give us regarding that guide, maybe an additional image or maybe an edit to one of the steps or an additional step that you would like us to consider, you can provide us feedback directly pertaining to that specific measure. And we would love to hear from you and encourage you to contact us with content suggestions, questions, or other comments.
Okay. Another question came in. Is there a process for the Building America Solutions Center to integrate modular construction for local code officials?
I'll take that one. You know, modular construction basically is just homes built in a controlled environment factory setting, but they apply the same essential set of measures and best practices that would be used whether built in site or the factory. And so the biggest differences on the marriage joint, connecting the modules to ensure that they're airtight. Often what's recommended is belt and suspenders, both foam and taping or gaskets, and to make sure that the very significant gaps between modules is fully sealed. So that detail would be a good suggestion for us to add, but otherwise, you know, the rest of the construction for modular homes should be identical to what we do in site. So, but again, someone has recommendations for other details that are important for modular. We're happy to entertain those through the recommendations that Chrissi just gave you.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Let's see. Is there a link provided to view the webinar offline? To answer that, as I stated in the beginning, I will be sending the presentation around via PDF to everyone who registered and is on the webinar. And additionally, this is being recorded, so so you'll be able to view the webinar once we get it through transcription process and up online, which should take about 1 to 2 weeks. So check back on the Zero Energy Ready Home resources page, and you'll be able to view the webinar then.
And we will also link the webinar to the Solution Center itself, so you will be able to find it there as well.
That would be great.
I'll also mention that there are about 15 to 20 different webinars posted under the resources section of the Zero Energy Ready Home website, and they cover the extensive array of topics involved in often technical requirements of the program and achieving Zero Energy Ready performance. So I encourage people to look at all those library of webinars that are posted.
Okay, well, that's all the questions that came in. If you have any more, I will be sending out an email afterwards with Chrissy's email address, so you can reach out to her directly. Otherwise, you can send it to me, Lindsay Parker, and my email address is on the GoToMeeting as well. So with that, I think, unless you guys have anything else, I want to thank you all for a really great webinar, great presentation, and looking forward to our next one.